it's time to start with the CSS part of the BMI Calculator project. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see the CSS code more clearly. So this CSS file is already linked with the index.html with this particular line of the code. So I'm opening the style.css file. So instead of that, first I'm going to change the background color. If you see the final version of the application, you can see there is a blue color in the background. So we want to apply the background color to this one also. So for that we are going to use here a body element. So body, and inside of that we will be using the background color property. So hash character, then 349, and it is going to be like 8db. So this will be the color for the final project. Alright, and then we need to actually use the container, because inside the container we have all the other elements like the form, the h2 element, and also the result element, which is a division tag. So inside of the container I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to start the body of the container, just removing this array bracket, closing element, and then closing the block. So the first thing is, inside the container we need to specify the max width. So max width property is going to be like 400 pixel. Right, and then I need to provide the margin property. So margin from top is going to be like 200 pixel, and it is going to be auto from the left and right. Then you can see now the BMI calculator content is coming to the center of the web browser. Okay, and then we need to add the padding. So padding is going to be like 20 pixel, and then we need to add the background color. So background color is like hashtag F2. So this will be the color that I'm going to use for this particular project container, which is the division container for the BMI calculator. Then I need to provide the border. So border is going to be like 2 pixel solid border, solid, and then we need to provide the color. So it is going to be like 1E, and it's like F, which is 5F, and 8A. So this will be the border color for the BMI calculator. Alright, and after the border we need to add the border radius so that we can get some rounded corners, so which is going to be like 5 pixel. And then we need to add the box shadow, which is a favorite property which gives us a 3D look to this particular project, like 10 pixel blurriness. And then I need to use the RGBA, which is 000, and the alpha value is going to be 0.2. Now you can see there is a shadow is applied to this particular container. Okay, so that's marks the code for the container. Next we need to add the element code for the HTML, which is a heading tag. Then it is going to like margin top. So margin top is going to be 0. Alright, and then we need to add the color. So color we need to add a dark black. Alright, and then we need to add the text like alignment. So it is going to be the center of the container. And then we also need to add the text decoration, which is underline. Okay, so now you can see there is a underline is applied to this BMI calculator heading. So that's marks the completion of the code for the h2 element. Then we need to add the code for the form element. So we need to start the form block. So the first thing is we need to add the margin. So margin from bottom. So this is like our margin bottom property, and it is going to be like 20 pixel. Right, and then we need to add the display. So display is going to be like flex. So now everything is actually aligned to the one single line. So we need to actually use here a flex direction. So flex direction is going to be the column 1. Now all of the elements is now appearing like up in one column. So that marks the code for the form. Now we are going to handle the label and the input elements and the selection element one by one. So the first we need to actually style the label. So I'm going to select the label tag directly, and inside of that I will be adding the code for the label. So the first thing is we need to use the font size to large, and then we need to add the font weight. We are also going to increase the font weight to 600 pixel. And then we need to add here a margin bottom property, because right now they are very close to each other. So we need to actually provide some margin. So now you can see margin bottom property is applied, and then we need to add here a color property, color, and then we need to add some dark black color. So that is for the labels. The next we need to add the code for the input and also the selection. So I'm going to combining the two selectors. So here I will be using the input, then to specify the type also inside the array brackets. So type is equal to, so we are actually using the type here number. So make sure you need to specify here a number, and then to specify here like comma operator, like comma, and then we need to also provide the select. So in the second line I will be specifying the select, and then we need to start the block line of the code, means start the block of the code. Then to provide the width, so width is going to be like 95%. Okay, and then we need to add the padding. So padding is going to like 10 pixel. You can see now the padding is increased. And then we need to add the border property. So border is going to be like none. Alright, if I control save it, now you can see the border is removed. Then we need to add the background color. So background color is like #FF, which is a pure white color. Then we need to add the border radius so that we can get rounded corner, which is 5 pixel. And then for the 3D look, we need to add here a box shadow property. So it is going to like 0 pixel. Then for the blurriness, it is going to be 5 pixel. Then we need to use here RGBA. So you can see now it's actually gets a 3D look. Okay, and then after that we need to add here a margin bottom property, because right now these two one are actually very close. So that is the reason, or also this weight one is very like close to this particular button. So that is the reason we need to add the margin bottom property, which is 10 pixel. Now you can see the problem is fixed. And also when we actually come back to this focus state of these elements, we want a blue color, like you can see this blue one. So for that we need to actually change its focus state. So I'm going to copy this one and pasting it here, and then inside of that I will be using here a focus. Okay, and also for the select one we need to use here a focus. It is actually a pseudo class. Then we need to close the block of the code. So inside of that we need to actually here use the outline. So outline, right now you can see there is an outline is coming. So we want to remove that outline. So outline, and then we need to set it here none. If I save it, so when I click on this particular focus button, then you can see the outline is removed. The next thing is we need to apply the box shadow. So copy the box shadow code from here, paste it, and then we need to provide here a hexadecimal notation color. So we can use it here a color like this one, auto suggesting the color. If I click it, then you can see now we get this particular effect. So the next thing is we need to specify the code for the button. And also you can see there is a one problem. If I just come back to here, these is actually similar width is applied to this input, because and this one is actually also having the similar input. But the problem with this one, you can see in our one, these are not same. So to apply the same style, we need to actually select the selector. Okay, we need to select the selector. So here we need to add the width to like 100%. So now you can see the width is exactly the same to these all other input elements and also this particular button. Now the next step is we need to actually provide the style for this button. So for that, instead of selecting the button, because right now you can see it is not a button, it is actually input type submit. So we need to select the input type submit. So I'm going to actually copy this code from here and just removing the focus state. Right, and just remove the one bracket, and here we need to use the submit. Okay, so this is will be the input type submit. The first thing is we need to add the code for here like a padding. So padding is going to be like 10 pixel, and then we need to add here a margin top property. So margin top is going to be like 10 pixel, and then we need to add here a background color. So background color will be like this one. I control save it, and you can see. Then we need to add here a border property. So border is going to be none. Then we need to add the border radius. So border radius is going to be like 5 pixel, so that we can get a rounded border. Okay, and I can just go with the 3 pixel because 5 pixel is too much for this particular button. Okay, and then we need to add the color property. So color is going to be like #FF, and then we need to add the cursor property. So cursor is going to like pointer. Okay, and then we need to add here a transition property. So transition, and we need to apply the transition for the background color. So I'm going to copy this here, paste it, background color, and it is going to be like 0.3s, which is like ease. Okay, and then we need to apply the hover state, hover pseudo class for this particular button. paste it, close the block of the code. Then here we need to specify the colon and then the hour. Okay, and then we need to change the background color. So it's like hashtag 2187B5. Control save it. If I hover over it, you can see the color of the button is changing with the proper transition effect. So the last element that we want to style is the result element. So it is an ID. So that is the reason we need to use here a hash character and the name of the selector. Inside of that, first we need to add the font weight. So the font weight is going to be like bold, and then the margin top property, which is like 20 pixel, and then the color. So color is like this one, which is 349. So if I control save it, right now it is not visible, but if I enter here some values, control save it, then you can see the style is applied. Alright, so I'm going to remove it. So now the designing of the project is completely done. So our next step is to start with the JavaScript part of the project. So that we are going to do in the next part.